The night settles gently over the city of Pompeii, not as a sudden change, but as a slow and familiar easing, as the warmth of the day begins to fade from the stone streets, and the air grows softer, quieter, and more forgiving, allowing the city to release itself from the steady rhythm of daylight. The sun has already slipped behind the distant outline of Mount Vesuvius, leaving behind a sky that deepens gradually from pale gold into muted shades of blue and gray. As oil lamps begin to glow one by one along the narrow streets, their light warm and steady, never bright enough to disturb the calm that now fills the air. Pompeii feels ordinary tonight, deeply and completely ordinary. The kind of night that carries no sense of importance, no hint of memory, no suggestion that it will ever be spoken of again. Because for the people who live here, this night is simply another quiet ending to a familiar day. Shops close their wooden doors with practiced movements, hands that have done this countless times before lowering shutters and securing simple locks without thought or urgency, as the sounds of the marketplace fade and are replaced by softer noises, distant footsteps, low voices drifting briefly before dissolving into silence. The stone beneath each step still holds a trace of the day's warmth, radiating gently upward, while the evening air cools the skin just enough to feel refreshing, creating a balance that invites rest rather than movement, encouraging the body to slow and settle. In courtyards and open rooms, lamps burn low beside simple meals that have already ended, the faint scent of bread, olives, and oil lingering softly in the air, blending with the familiar smell of stone and dust that belongs to this place and this hour. Water flows quietly through small fountains and channels, moving with the same steady rhythm it always has, a sound so familiar that it no longer asks to be noticed, repeating again and again without variation, as if time itself has chosen to move gently tonight. Families gather briefly before sleep, exchanging a few quiet words, gestures that require no explanation, before retreating into rooms that feel safe and known, spaces shaped by habit and routine rather than design or intention. Above the city, the outline of Vesuvius stands dark and still against the night sky, its presence so constant that it has long since become part of the background, something seen but not considered, a shape that belongs to the land in the same way the streets and houses do. The sky continues to darken slowly, stars appearing one by one without pattern or urgency, as the moon rises softly, casting pale light across rooftops and emptying streets, illuminating the city just enough to remind it of its own quiet beauty. There is no tension in the air, no sense of anticipation, only the deep familiarity of another peaceful night settling into place, another evening that feels exactly like the countless evenings that have come before it. Breathing begins to slow naturally, not because it is guided, but because the night itself encourages ease, inviting the body to release effort and the mind to loosen its hold on the day. The sounds of Pompeii soften further as doors close, lamps dim, and footsteps disappear entirely, leaving behind only the gentle presence of water, distant movement, and the quiet hum of a city at rest. Nothing feels urgent, nothing feels unfinished, and nothing feels as though it needs attention, because this night belongs entirely to rest, to stillness, to the simple continuation of ordinary life. Pompeii settles into sleep, unaware that this calm moment will one day be remembered, unaware that this quiet night will stand frozen in time, because for now it is only another gentle pause between days, and the night continues, slow and unbroken, holding the city softly as it drifts deeper into rest. As the night deepens over Pompeii, the city seems to sink gently into itself, as though every street, every courtyard, and every stone wall has found a comfortable position and no longer feels the need to shift or respond, allowing the quiet to spread evenly and without resistance. Most lamps now burn lower, their flames smaller and steadier, casting soft halos of light that barely reach beyond the rooms they warm, leaving doorways and corridors in gentle shadow, where outlines blur and details lose their importance. The warmth held by the stone streets continues to rise faintly into the cooler air, creating a subtle balance that feels neither warm nor cold, but settled, as if the night has arrived at the exact temperature it was meant to have. Water continues to move through fountains and channels, its sound steady and unchanging, repeating the same pattern it has followed for years, a rhythm so familiar that it no longer separates itself from silence, becoming part of the night's texture. In homes across the city, bodies rest heavily on simple beds, limbs relaxed, breathing slow and even, minds drifting through fragments of thought that never fully form into dreams, dissolving quietly before they can take shape. The streets outside are now empty, no footsteps echoing between the buildings, no voices rising or falling, only the still presence of space where movement once was, now returned to quiet. Shutters lie closed, wooden beams cool slowly, releasing faint sounds as they settle, not sharp or alarming, but soft and familiar, reminders of structures easing into rest. Somewhere in the distance, a dog shifts briefly in its sleep, then grows still again, the sound barely noticeable before it fades completely into the surrounding calm. Time begins to feel wide and unmeasured, no longer divided into moments or tasks, but stretching gently, allowing each second to pass without marking its arrival or departure. The outline of Mount Vesuvius remains dark against the sky, unchanged and unmoving, a presence so constant that it no longer draws attention, simply existing as part of the landscape, as ordinary as the streets below. Stars continue to hang quietly above the city, their light steady and distant, offering no urgency, no signal, only a soft reminder of the vast stillness beyond the rooftops. Breathing deepens further, each inhale arriving fully before releasing, each exhale flowing out without effort, as the body responds naturally to the calm that surrounds it. The mind begins to loosen its hold on detail, no longer tracking sounds or sensations, allowing awareness to soften and drift, as if sinking gently beneath the surface of the night. Nothing in Pompeii feels fragile in this moment. Nothing feels uncertain or unfinished, because everything rests within the familiar pattern of another ordinary night, one that feels complete exactly as it is. The city remains unaware of its place in history, unaware that this peaceful night will one day be studied and remembered, because for now it is simply living within itself, content to remain quiet. The night holds steady, neither advancing nor retreating, allowing rest to deepen without interruption, as Pompeii continues to sleep beneath the stars. As the hours of the night continue to pass without announcing themselves, Pompeii feels increasingly distant from the rhythms of the day, as though the city has gently stepped away from time itself and settled into a quiet space where nothing needs to progress or resolve. The streets lie completely empty now, their stone surfaces pale under the moonlight, reflecting just enough light to soften the darkness without breaking it, while doorways and columns cast long, gentle shadows that no longer seem to belong to any particular object, but instead feel like part of the night's own design. Inside the houses, sleep deepens into something heavy and still, where bodies no longer shift and breathing settles into slow, even patterns, rising and falling without awareness, as if guided by the calm that fills every room. The air remains balanced and unmoving, resting against walls and fabrics in a way that feels final, as though the night has reached the exact state it has been quietly moving toward since sunset. Water continues to flow through the city's fountains and channels, its sound now so familiar and repetitive that it no longer registers as a sound at all, but rather as a steady presence that blends completely into the surrounding stillness. The warmth released from the stone has nearly faded, leaving behind a coolness that does not chill, but instead soothes, encouraging deeper rest and a sense of comfort that requires no effort to maintain. Thoughts become slower and less distinct, no longer forming clear images or ideas, but drifting through the mind like faint impressions that dissolve before they can take shape, leaving behind only a soft, empty calm. Time no longer feels like something that moves forward in sequence, but like a wide, open expanse, where moments overlap and blur together, creating a sense of endless continuation without direction. The presence of Mount Vesuvius remains unchanged in the distance, its dark outline blending into the night sky so completely that it feels less like a mountain and more like a fixed part of the horizon, neither noticed nor questioned. The stars above continue to shine steadily, distant and unmoving, offering no signal and no meaning, simply existing as they always have, far removed from the quiet city below. Breathing continues to slow, each breath deeper and more relaxed than the last, arriving and leaving without thought. As the body settles fully into the support beneath it, awareness drifts further away from detail, no longer distinguishing between sounds or sensations, allowing everything to merge into a single gentle experience of rest. Nothing calls for attention, nothing suggests change, and nothing interrupts the steady calm that holds the city in place, allowing Pompeii to remain suspended in this quiet, ordinary night. The night stretches on without end and without urgency, carrying the city deeper into sleep, as everything remains exactly as it is meant to be. Pompeii feels as though it has fully released itself from the awareness of time, resting in a quiet state where nothing moves forward and nothing falls behind, where the city simply remains, suspended in calm. The darkness now feels complete and even, spreading gently across rooftops, columns, and narrow streets, softening every outline until buildings and shadows blend together into a single, peaceful landscape that asks nothing of the eye or the mind. Inside the homes scattered throughout the city, sleep has deepened into something steady and unbroken, where bodies lie heavy and relaxed, breathing slow and even, minds no longer reaching outward for thoughts or inward for memories, resting instead in a quiet absence of effort. The air feels settled in its final form, neither shifting nor stirring, resting against stone walls and simple fabrics, as if it has found the exact balance it was always moving toward, allowing everything beneath it to remain undisturbed. Water continues to move softly through fountains and channels, its rhythm unchanged and unchanging, repeating the same gentle pattern it has followed night after night, a sound so familiar that it no longer draws attention, blending seamlessly into the silence around it. The stone streets have cooled completely now, their surfaces holding no warmth, only a smooth, comforting coolness that feels steady and reliable, encouraging deeper rest without discomfort. Thoughts, if they appear at all, are faint and incomplete, dissolving almost as soon as they arise, leaving behind no trace and requiring no response, as awareness drifts further from detail and definition. Time no longer feels like something that passes or progresses, but like a wide open presence that holds everything gently, without pressure or expectation, allowing moments to overlap and fade into one another. The outline of Mount Vesuvius remains fixed against the night sky, its presence unchanged and unconsidered, blending so completely into the darkness that it feels less like a landmark and more like a quiet part of the horizon itself. Stars continue to hang quietly above, distant and steady, offering no signal and no meaning, simply existing as they always have, far removed from the sleeping city below. Breathing remains slow and effortless, each inhale arriving fully before releasing, each exhale carrying the body deeper into rest, guided naturally by the calm that fills every space. Awareness softens further, no longer separating sounds from silence or sensations from stillness, allowing everything to merge into a single gentle experience of rest. Nothing in the city suggests change, nothing hints at movement or disruption, and nothing calls for attention, because this night feels complete, exactly as it is. Pompeii remains held in this deep, quiet state, unaware of what will come, content to remain suspended in the ordinary peace of another night, as rest continues to deepen without interruption. As the night continues without any signal of transition, Pompeii feels completely removed from the idea of change, resting in a state so deeply settled that even the concept of movement seems distant and unnecessary, as though the city has quietly agreed to remain exactly as it is for as long as the night allows. Darkness no longer feels like something that surrounds the city, but like something that the city itself has become, resting evenly across rooftops, courtyards, and empty streets, softening every edge and blending every shape, until nothing stands apart or calls attention to itself. Inside the homes, sleep has reached its deepest and most unbroken form, where breathing is slow and steady, bodies are fully supported by familiar spaces, and the mind no longer forms thoughts, images, or questions, resting instead in a calm absence that requires no effort to maintain. The air remains perfectly still, neither rising nor falling, resting gently against stone and wood, as if it has settled into the only position it ever needed to find, allowing everything beneath it to remain undisturbed and at ease. Water continues to move through fountains and channels, with the same quiet rhythm it has always followed, a sound so steady and repetitive that it no longer feels like motion, but like a soft presence woven into the silence itself. The coolness of the night now feels consistent and comforting, neither changing nor demanding adjustment, encouraging the body to sink further into rest without resistance or awareness. Awareness drifts so low that it no longer feels separate from the space around it, no longer observing or responding, simply existing quietly without edges, without direction, without thought. Time has completely lost its structure here, no longer dividing itself into moments or hours, but stretching into a wide, open stillness where nothing advances and nothing recedes. Mount Vesuvius remains unchanged against the dark sky, its shape blending seamlessly into the horizon, unnoticed and unconsidered, simply part of the quiet landscape that surrounds the sleeping city. The stars above continue their steady presence, distant and unmoving, offering no signal and no meaning, simply existing far beyond the awareness of those resting below. Breathing continues naturally, slow and effortless, each breath arriving fully before releasing, carrying the body deeper into rest without instruction or intention. Nothing within Pompeii feels uncertain or incomplete, because everything rests within the familiar pattern of another ordinary night, one that feels complete exactly as it is. The city remains unaware of its place in history, unaware that this night will one day be remembered, because in this moment there is no sense of memory, only the deep comfort of rest. The night stretches on quietly, holding the city in stillness, allowing calm to deepen further without interruption. As the night continues without marking itself in any way, Pompeii rests in a state so deeply settled that the idea of before or after no longer exists, as though the city has slipped gently out of time and into a quiet space where nothing needs to happen and nothing needs to change. Darkness is now complete and even, resting everywhere at once, along the stone streets and beneath the tiled roofs, inside the rooms where sleep has grown heavy and still, and in the open spaces between buildings where air remains calm and unmoving, allowing everything to remain exactly as it is. The city no longer feels like a collection of separate places, but like a single, unified presence, held together by stillness and familiarity, where every street, every wall, and every courtyard shares the same quiet rhythm. Breathing continues slowly and naturally, each breath arriving fully and leaving gently, without effort or awareness, as the body rests so deeply that its shape and weight no longer matter, supported entirely by the calm that surrounds it. Time has dissolved into something wide and undefined, no longer moving forward or backward, but simply existing as a soft, continuous presence where moments do not follow one another, but blend together without edges. Inside the houses, sleep has become complete and undisturbed, where the mind no longer forms thoughts or images, and awareness rests so low that it barely feels present at all, leaving behind only a quiet sense of ease. The air remains perfectly balanced, resting against stone and fabric without movement, as though it has found the exact state it was always meant to reach, allowing everything beneath it to remain untouched. Water continues its gentle movement through fountains and channels, the sound steady and repetitive, blending so completely into the silence that it feels less like sound and more like part of the stillness itself. The stone streets lie cool and smooth beneath the moonlight, their surfaces unchanged and unremarkable, holding no warmth and no tension, simply existing as they always have. Mount Vesuvius remains fixed against the dark sky, its presence unchanged and unnoticed, blending so seamlessly into the horizon that it feels like a natural extension of the night rather than a separate form. The stars above continue their steady presence, distant and unmoving, offering no signal and no meaning, simply existing far beyond the sleeping city. Awareness continues to soften and drift, no longer separating inner from outer, sound from silence, or thought from rest, allowing everything to merge into a single gentle experience of stillness. Nothing in Pompeii suggests change, nothing hints at disruption, and nothing calls for attention, because this night feels exactly like so many nights before it, ordinary and complete. The city remains unaware of its future, unaware that this calm night will one day be remembered, because memory belongs only to what comes later, and this moment exists entirely on its own. Breathing remains slow and even, each cycle reinforcing the deep calm that holds everything in place, allowing rest to deepen further without effort. The night stretches on without end and without intention, not because it is infinite, but because it has no markers, no boundaries and no points of transition. There is no sense of waiting, no sense of arrival, only the continuation of this quiet state where nothing is required and nothing is expected. Darkness remains gentle and complete, holding the city and everything within it, without tightening or loosening its grip, allowing rest to remain deep and unbroken. Water continues to flow, air remains still, the city remains asleep, and the night continues doing exactly what it is meant to do. Breathing continues, stillness continues, the night remains.